From the Daily Mail. Under fire, ABC News host George Stephanopoulos suggests Trump is to blame for violent rhetoric after assassination attempt. During Sunday's episode of ABC's This Week, Stephanopoulos and Chief Global Affairs anchor Martha Raddatz discussed the current political environment. Raddatz discussed conspiracy theories that President Biden caused the horrific attack and noted a tweet from J.D. Vance that Biden's rhetoric led to the attack. Quote, of course, President Trump and his supporters have contributed to this violent rhetoric as well, Stephanopoulos said, blaming Donald Trump. I reject this and I don't accept it. Republicans, many on the right, they don't protest. It is rare to see Republicans get out and do anything. Now, of course, there certainly is some rhetoric, but as I always explain to people, it's an inversion. You have prominent Democrat and liberal personalities openly calling for violence. Let's go back in time. Punch a Nazi. Everyone remembers that. How about the Covington kids? That one guy, I can't remember which, I think it was a Disney employee, I'm not sure, I could be wrong, posted a picture of a wood chipper. Reza Aslan said that he insinuated he wanted to punch the kid punch that kid in the face. The kid had a punchable face. And then some people on the right, sometimes say negative things, but it's an inversion. Most prominent right personalities say, no violence, stop, we don't want this, we can't have this.
I think it's even beyond talking about it online. I mean, who attacked the congressional baseball game, right? Like, didn't Ron Paul get attacked by a Democrat? Right. So, like, this is something that it hasn't happened in a vacuum. It's not like this is the only time that the scales have tipped. I mean, we always reference the summer of 2020, but really this boiling energy that's been there has actually spilled over the pot a couple times. And it's not typically the narrative that the media wants to talk about. I think that we take for granted that America is a safe country and things like this happen other places. Like when you saw Mexico's election, there were all these reports of assassinations and it was like, oh, that's a crazy place. But what we have is fragile and we have to protect it. And I just don't think that's the messaging we've gotten from the Biden campaign, right? They've talked about political violence. They keep showing clips of things they think went wrong in the past. They use fear to try and inspire their voters. It's not a peaceful party. And I think you see that demonstrated more than we really acknowledge because, again, we sort of are numb to it.
I think it's important to see, while some Democrats are trying to moderate some of their language, I think it's important to remember that I actually do believe that I don't know if it's just Democrats, but many in the far left, many at the base of the party actually do hate Donald Trump to like the core of his soul and do believe that he is a genocidal fascist, Hitler-esque figure that does need to be taken out. And unfortunately, it's not an uncommon thought to think like that these people are unhappy that the shots missed Donald Trump. I was actually interviewing some people today on the march on the RNC who specifically said it's a shame that the person missed. I don't think that's uncommon, and it's important to recognize the vitriol and deep-seated hate these people have for many on the right.
What is that everybody on the right said about Joe Biden? He should retire.
Yeah.
He should go be with his family. I've seen it from all of these prominent personalities. Dan Bongino. Joe Biden should be sitting at home and with his family having oatmeal.
Surrounded by his grandkids.
Yep.
That seems great.
What an amazing. But
also, aren't the ones on the left, the leftists are always the ones saying that the right is engaging in stochastic terror, right?
Stochastic terrorism.
Isn't that basically what they're doing?
Yes.
It's the iron law of woke projection.
Right.
It's James Lindsay's term. I grew up.
They just keep doing the same thing that they accuse everyone on the right of doing.
I reject the concept of stochastic terrorism. I think it's a different thing
I
than
agree
direct
with you.
threats. But I mean, we were kind of talking
here
about.
They are doing the exact same thing, as they're accusing people on the right of always doing, and they're doing this, and they're saying, but we should get a pass because it's just political language. And the White House even said that they weren't going to stop.
Stochastic terrorism is a real thing. It's just to what degree is it ubiquitous? The left says it's everywhere all the time, nonstop. But the general concept of what it really means is, oh, won't someone rid me of this meddlesome priest?
Yes.
I also...
No, that's it.
I think that's sort of an interesting thread to pull if you look at how for the last, since 2016, like almost 10 years, they really have gone to lengths to define domestic extremism as basically MAGA supporters and January 6th type rioters. And again, who knows, incompetence, intentional, something funky happened at that rally. But when you look at billions, probably when you add it up, it's probably like trillions of dollars that have been poured into these, anti-domestic extremism efforts and the way that word has been reformulated to really just be synonymous and analogous with Trump supporters. No wonder why this guy would slip through the cracks, right? Because he doesn't really fit their definition of what it means to be a domestic extremist, in the sense that he wasn't someone who was, walking around a Joe Biden rally holding up Trump signs. And I'm not saying that they missed him, but I think that that's if you look at a cultural systemic shift that has been happening inside these, Secret Service operates under the auspices of DHS, the very same DHS that behind closed doors is weaponizing against MAGA, is holding secret meetings with, social media companies to censor us. They don't think people who are shooting at Trump that doesn't really fit their domestic terrorism narrative, right?
They're not shitposting on Twitter. This guy wasn't. So I guess he wasn't on the list.
Domestic terrorists can't donate to Act Blue. He
wouldn't set off any of their radars because they have made domestic terrorism, domestic extremism, something that is wholly different from what it should be.
I've had this, it's a recent theory that I have, is that, we grew up with the term liberalism is a mental disorder. I've always heard it as a kid, never fully understood it until now. But I look at the Democrat Party, and they have no qualms and a total propensity to exploiting the mentally vulnerable, the mentally ill, for political profit, like they did with Greta Thunberg, like they did with Fetterman, just anybody. It doesn't even matter if he's mentally unwell. Just get him in there.
You left Joe Biden off the list.
Well, and Joe Biden now. Just prop up a weekend at Bernie's. They will exploit the fragile, the infirmed for political profit. And they use the mentally ill and the mentally unwell as their strong arm, as their thugs on the street to promote and push and instill terror for those who don't follow their politics. And so the left's propensity, and the Democrats with a capital D, to use people who are clearly mentally unwell. I saw the counter protest. Anybody saying I wished he wasn't off target has a mental problem, and I mean probably a diagnosable one. And they use them as tools for political profit, and we're seeing it now. But they accuse others of what they are doing themselves. It's Nazi propaganda going back to Goebbels.
You made a point a while ago, Viva, that if Donald Trump were to have been hit, it's world war.
It's they don't know the hell they are ushering in, because it would be the most not demoralizing. The JFK assassination was graphic, and this was broad daylight, live streamed, real time, HD. There would have been. I won't use the word. It would have been not America the day after. But for the grace of God, it looks like people are going to actually be unified as opposed to all hell breaking.
The political instability likely would have resulted in
1,000%.
Like the moves we'd end up seeing from Russia, from China, would be drastic, and it would lead to a chain of events that I think would create massive international instability. And I highlight this point you made because these people who are online, they're young people. One video is a guy screaming at the top of his lungs saying, "How could you miss?
Yep.
How could you miss?" They don't know or care. Now, we can say that's a mental disorder, but I also think the problem is it is a failed generation. It is not that these people's brains are not functioning, like, 1 + 2 = 3. It exists in there. It's that the neural pathways were not constructed in their brains so they can understand the structure of the planet and what happens to them after the fact. They don't know or care. They are detached. This is behavioral sync to an extreme degree. If those of you who are familiar with the rat utopia experiment, they want for things that result in their own death, which leads to the destruction of a species.
Because I still buy the current story out that it was just the lone wolf shooter. It is really unsettling, and how much more political violence I unfortunately foresee this leading to. Shinzo Abe, the former prime minister of Japan, was assassinated not too long ago. And again, there's a short list of people on the Secret Service. Most reps and senators and governors are accessible compared to the way Trump was. So one motivated person could do so much damage to our fragile democracy. I sound like a Democrat saying that.
That's true. And as an aside, just if you want to talk later, I can get you a real good price on the Brooklyn Bridge.
No, it's one dedicated person would spend weeks scoping it out, finding the weakness. What did he do? Show up there and say, "Hey, that roof is unattended. I'm going to go back to my car and get my gun." I mean, it's that kid wasn't dedicated. That was lazy.
And what if the roof wasn't available? Was he just going to take his best shot? Was he going to just chill with his rifle? It is I don't know.
Look, man,
I don't know.
Look, and by the way, if we start from a dedicated crazy person found a way, I'd be with you. But if we start from 26 minutes before he was reported to the police, took a picture of him. A second officer saw him, took a picture of him on the roof. Another officer encountered him on the roof, and then the man pointed a gun at him, so he backed away. 2 minutes before the shooting, Trump supporters are screaming in the audience, he's got a gun, he's got a gun. And not one law enforcement called it in or did anything. Bro.
If you told me Trump needed to just turn his head a little bit and his life would have been saved, I wouldn't believe you either. So if I'm buying that, I don't know. I don't know what's going on.
I think
There
that's
are a
how
lot of things that are very
I think
crazy.
that's how a lot of people
fair
feel.
point. I accept that.
Trump,
fair point.
he was shot through the ear, and he has a wound through his ear. You can't shoot like that if you try to.
That's where the divine intervention in this comes in. And I'm not a religious person, but I had just watched Pulp Fiction, and I'm like, if that's not an act of God, I don't know what is.
I saw your post about Pulp Fiction.
It was great. I was watching it last week, and and then it happens. Oh yeah, no, what we witnessed today was an absolute miracle that prevented the world from descending into World War III.
Did you guys see this new thing? So Elon Musk is promised to donate $45 million per month to like a Trump backing super PAC.
Because he endorsed
$45 million.
Is he tweeting this now or what?
Yeah, it's
no,
just
it's
breaking.
just in the Wall Street Journal right now.
I sent you a link, Tim.
Had they not pissed off Elon Musk, he might not have gotten so involved in this.
He endorsed Trump, within 20 minutes of everything happening? I mean, as the world was freaking out, he was like, I'm with Trump. And that's an incredibly powerful statement from this guy who had sort of tried to stay a little bit neutral.
Thanks for checking out this clip from Timcast IRL. Make sure to watch the show live Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. Subscribe to this channel, and we will see you all there.